Welcome to the Black Belt Business Podcast. My name is Matthew Brenner, and today I'm really excited because I'm going to share with you guys a story. And this story, I'm going to give you the lessons I've learned from this story in order to get 47 new adult leads in our martial arts school, all for free without paying a dime. So, using a lot of these organic strategies I talk about. And this is going to be important because if you rely only on Google ads, like Google AdWords or Facebook ads to run your martial arts school, it may be going great now, okay, but at some point that's going to dry up because what happens with online ads is no matter how good they are, eventually you have something called ad fatigue where an ad stops working. And when that happens, usually what happens is people get like stuck in the mud, martial arts school owners, and then they'll have like weeks, if not months, of trying to figure out like what to do or how to pivot. Okay. Or Zuckerberg decides to change the algorithm overnight, and then you're stuck. And your agency is trying to figure out what to do or how to help, but they're not sure either. It takes them weeks or months while you're still paying for ads. Or the other thing is ad costs only goes up, it never goes down. Okay. So I'm going to share with you guys a story of how I got over 100,000 views. So 108,000 to be more specific at this point, at the time of my recording, all through one organic event that came from one DM that got us all these adult student leads that we're going to use in order to get new students. So I'm going to share with you the exact process of what happened from beginning to end all this week. This has been a crazy week for me, crazy week for our team. Honestly, we've been extremely swamped, which is, a tough place to be in, but also a great place to be in, right? So I'm going to share with you the full process, how we got into 3 different news sources, the Philadelphia Inquirer, CBS, and Fox, and a bunch of other blogs that have picked it up and posted it as well. So, and hopefully to get more too, because I'm still reaching out to the other news outlets. So I'm going to tell you how I did it and how you can do it for your martial arts school too. All right, so a little bit of background. So this week I was on my way to dinner with my girlfriend, and I look at my phone and I have a text or a DM on Instagram, and it says, "Hey, are you the owner of blah, blah, blah martial arts school?" And I'm not the face of that martial arts school at all. I don't know. And I know probably 3 of the students' names. That's it. Okay. We have a full staff there. They run it. I'm not part of the day-to-day operations. So for me to get a message, ask if I'm the owner, my heart sank. I'm like, oh God, this person's probably really upset about something, like really mad. They're gonna ream me out. Like the fact that they did all this research to find me, and I'm like not on like the website, right? I'm not anywhere where they could find me conveniently. Like this person had to do research to track me down. So of course, instead of me answering like, yes, I am the owner, right? And by the way, I'm a co-owner, so I have a couple different partners in it. I use the Socratic method, which is my favorite strategy for finding out information before I just answer someone. So she said, "Are you the owner?" And I said, why might you ask that, right?" And she said, "Well, by the way, I'm about to go into dinner with my girlfriend, right? So like, I'm like sweating this DM. I could deal with it next day, but like now I'm going to be thinking about it the whole time during dinner. So I want to just get it over with." So I'm looking at my phone and she sends me a DM right back. She says, "Hey, your instructor did something heroic. He needs to get credit for this." And I'm like, oh my God, okay. She's like, "Can I call you?" And now I'm like, all right, sounds like something good. And I'm like, heroic? Like, what happened? My instructor hasn't called me. I have no idea. Like, what is she talking about? I gave her my number. She calls me right away. Okay. I'm outside the restaurant on the phone. And she says, "Your instructor did something amazing." Basically, what happened was I was in a dry cleaner and there was a guy in there, maybe he looked homeless or something. And they were asking him to leave, but was saying he was cold. And then all of a sudden, he snatched this lady's purse and ran out the store. Now, this girl's like if you heard her talk or heard her interview, she sounds kind of like a fighter. Not like she has martial arts training, but she doesn't let people kind of like walk all over her. She bolts out the door. She's wearing a suit and heels, and she doesn't care. She bolts out after this guy. But first of all, it's winter in Philadelphia where this is happening. And she chases after him, but eventually he just kind of gets away, and she's screaming and yelling, "Stop him, stop him." There's all these people walking around. No one do a thing. This is in downtown Philadelphia. And, most people, I think would not really interfere there. They don't know if this person has a gun or a knife or what's even happening. It probably happens too quick for them to even respond. But Mr. Stefan, who's one of my instructors, who works at that location, who's right down the street, someone walks into the school. I think it was a parent of one of the students that he was about to teach a lesson to. And she says, "Oh my God, someone just stole a lady's purse down the street." Maybe she heard some yelling. And he runs out the door. Again, I have security camera footage of this from within the school. He bolts. Like when hears it, he just like runs. He doesn't ask questions, doesn't hesitate. He runs out the door. He chases after this guy. I guess he figures out who it is right away because maybe it's obvious, some dude running down the street with a purse in his hand. He kicks out his legs. The guy drops the purse, runs away. He picks up the purse, finds the lady, gives it back to her, and then offers her some free classes at the school. Smart marketing move, Mr. Stefan. And then he comes back to the school and just teaches classes like it's nothing. Okay. And the funny part is that this lady who was telling me, who was retelling me the story, she was like mesmerized by the whole situation. She felt like there was an angel on her shoulder who was there to help her. And she just wanted to make sure this guy got credit. He didn't get any credit. He just like went back to teaching like normal. But let me give you a little bit of background about Mr. Stefan because it's a really cool story. I did a podcast about this a year or two ago, and if you heard it, then this will be a little update for you. If you haven't, then I think it's just a really cool story. So a couple years ago, Mr. Stefan sent me a DM on Facebook, okay, on Messenger, because I had posted that I was looking for a martial arts instructor for one of our locations. And somehow we were friends. I don't know how we ended up being friends on there. He used to be a competitor with like NASCA, and he did like kickboxing and sparring and weapons and staff and all this stuff. So somehow we were friends. He's like, "Yeah, I'd love to do that." I'm like, "All right, cool. Well, like, where are you located?" And he's like, "South Africa, Johannesburg." And I'm like, "Okay. Sounds good, man. Like, I don't know how I could help you." He's like, "Well, maybe you can help me get a visa." And I'm like, "I don't know anyone that's done that personally." Okay. And I have no idea what that's like. That sounds like a ton of homework. And for me to risk some guy coming here from Johannesburg, I'm not doing that. No, thank you. He's like, "Well, what if I do the research?" And I'm like, "Man, this guy's like really like pushing it." All right, like let's get on a Zoom call and talk. Okay, so we get on a Zoom call. I talk to this guy. He seems great. He's got like a good personality. He runs a school in Johannesburg, and he's been to the U.S. a bunch of times competing. He's a world champion in forms and weapons and kickboxing in South Africa. And he just wants to make martial arts a career, but martial arts is not respected in South Africa the way it is in the U.S. People will like pay for and invest in it here. They see the value. He explains to me in Johannesburg, this is not the same thing. People just don't care about it as much. But he really wants to make it into a career. He sees our organization. He sees like what I post on social media. He wants support and to be a part of something good. And we're always looking for great talent, right? We're always looking for, I don't care how good you are at martial arts, really, because that can be trained. I really just care about your personality, how good you are with people, because we teach a lot of kids. And I gotta be able to trust you for our kids, right? So I'm like, all right, here's what we'll do. And we had a ton of phone calls back and forth. He does a lot of research to figure out what it actually takes to get a visa. And I reach out to different lawyers to find like a specialized lawyer who does this. And we discover that we need to apply for what's called an O1 visa, which is a visa that the U.S. grants for an extraordinary person. Okay, basically, they'll allow people to come in who are extraordinary people in the U.S. who are going to like contribute to society that like they can't get locally. And if you ever try to hire a martial arts instructor, you know how difficult it is. Okay, it's hard to just get someone to just teach at your school unless you've trained them up from the beginning. Okay, maybe they started training with you for a while since they were a kid and then a teenager, and then they become an instructor. We have a ton of those. But hiring someone off the street is a lot harder. Okay, last time I hired someone off the street, I had to do like 90 something interviews over the course of about 8 months, and then I finally hired someone, and that person only lasted a year. Okay, so it's really really difficult to do, find a good person, and this guy seemed great, but this is like all these extra layers of work and risk involved. So I figured out like with the attorney, okay, is it even possible to get him here? Could we go this route? And they're like, it's risky. I would say 50-50. You can try. And I'm like, all right, well, before I even try this, let me have Mr. Stefan come out here. We'll fly him out. and see if we even like him, see if this is even going to be worth all the effort. So I spend, now he doesn't have a lot of money. So I'm like, all right, I'll take the risk. It's fine. I fly him out here. Obviously, Johannesburg is on a cheap flight. He stays in my apartment with me. Like, I have an extra bedroom. He stays with me. I've never met this human before. Now, we've had about 8 or 10 hours of Zoom calls, but still, I don't know this guy, right? Like, I don't know him really well. But like, I don't know, something about him. He just had like a charm about him, and I felt like he just like had that right attitude that we look for in our schools and an instructor. So I'm like, I felt like it was worth the risk. We put him through about a week of training, and he immediately charmed everyone in the school. Everyone loves him. Like, this guy is great. If you can get him here, he'd be amazing. He was so good with the kids. We watched him teach, and obviously he's a little bit rough around the edges because he doesn't have our style of teaching and our system. So that's got to be trained. But in terms of like personality and character, he fits the bill exactly. So he stays with me for a couple days. I think maybe like a week total, and then he flies back home. I'm like, all right, I'll start this visa process. So there's two ways to do the visa. You can do one that it's like it takes about 4 months. You apply, then you hear back. You hear back in 4 months whether the person gets it or not. And then there's another one that is you can get expedited, where you find out in 6 weeks. So I want to get him here sooner. I'm like, okay, I'll pay the the quick fee, right? It costs, I think, an extra 2 or 3 grand versus the other one, which is like $500. And that's just a fee to the government, not the lawyer fees. Okay. The lawyer fees at this point are going to cost like 5 or 6 grand. Okay. This is a lot of money. And plus, I paid him to fly out here. Plus, he stayed with me. Plus, I'm going to have to fly him back, give him a salary right away if he gets it, blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, all right, this is worth it. This guy is awesome. And we'll open up a school with him. So we do the process of filling out this application. This application is freaking enormous. Okay, there's basically 10 prongs, and these 10 prongs are these things that you need to prove to the U.S. government of why this person is an extraordinary individual. And you got to prove at least 3 prongs. It's all subjective. It's not like an objective thing. It's just like literally a person reviews it, and they either accept it or deny it. But you got to get at least 3 to be eligible. So we go through the 10 prongs. We figure out which ones with the attorneys we feel like we're going to argue. And we have to get a ton of referral letters, people who judged at his tournaments, people who run the competition teams, former instructors, and getting these people to write recommendation letters who live in other parts of the world, who are sometimes they're like old martial arts teachers that don't really check their email, took freaking forever. Okay, tons of emails back and forth. They said things that wouldn't work. We'd do lots of revisions, blah, 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 blah. Maddening amount of work. Okay, eventually we get the application. We send it in. It's, we're supposed to have it in like 4 weeks. Then we find out we find out an answer in like 3 or 4 weeks after that with the expedited visa. But it takes forever to get it to them. 5 or 6 months. Okay, we get it to them. We hear back. We open the mail. Denied. And they're like, wow, it's not like, I can't believe this happened, but like it does happen sometimes. And I thought, this is my interpretation, was that they were going to read this visa. This visa, I mean, the visa application is 500 pages long. Okay, it's enormous. Like, I look at through it, I'm like, oh my God, like this is crazy. I wrote a lot of it. The lawyers wrote a lot of it. And it's a lot of technical documents. And I'm like, there's no way they have a human sitting there in the government office reading this, right? But to my surprise, I get this thing back, and there are notes on the pages. Like, someone actually went through this 500-page document. I could not believe it. I thought they were going to put it through some system, maybe have someone like skim it. Someone went through this in freaking detail. Okay, it blew my mind that they have the man hours to be able to make that work. And basically, they said, hey, 2 of the 3 of the prongs were good. Only one of them needs work. You can try to submit it again. Lawyers ask for more money, of course. I'm like, I guess, like, do you think we're going to get it? They're like, all right, we feel pretty confident. Tons of meetings with the lawyers, getting new documents together, lots of revisions. It takes now another 6 months or so. We submit the request in again. We're waiting. And now I didn't do the expedited thing. I already did the expedited thing the first time. I didn't want to do it again. I'm like, how much more money am I going to spend on this giant risk? Remember, the whole thing is a risk. I could spend easily $10,000 and get literally zero out of it. So finally, we get the letter back, And they said, oh, I know what. They said, oh, yeah, you're going to be rejected. This is not a good application. Now only one prong that you submitted we feel is valid. And I'm like, what? One prong? Before you guys said two. Now you took away one after we added more arguments, more evidence. So flabbergasted, I called the lawyer. I'm like, what the hell is this? And they are like actually up in arms. Like, they're really upset on my behalf. And she tells me that she goes to like a lawyer convention, brings it up in front of everyone. They all game plan together. She's in Facebook groups asking people what she should do, people who do this sort of thing. And they can't believe it either. They're like, and the problem is, it's all subjective. I can't email this person who looked at the application. I can't call them. There's no way to contact them. It's just, you get the letter and that's it. So finally, what happens is, the lawyer says, okay, we think you should submit one more time. I'm sorry this happened. It's embarrassing. And I'm like, hey guys, I'm paying you so much money because you're experts at making this work. Like, how is this not happening? I don't understand. We have all the evidence we need, or we feel we need. Once again, subjective. So the lawyer said, okay, we think you should submit one more time. But once again, it's a huge risk. I would say maybe about 30%. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, all right, yeah, we're gonna need another $1,500. No, I'm not doing that. I'm like, I paid you guys every single step of the way, and then now it's worse than the last time. I'm not paying you, and if I have to pay you again, I'm not doing it. I'm not just throwing away another $1,500 for nothing. And eventually they relent and say, okay, we'll do a pro bono. We feel like that you had a really tough person who reviewed this, and it's like almost like Russian roulette, and like in terms of who's going to check your application, whether they're strict or lenient. They felt like this person was strict. Hopefully we'll get someone more lenient, who knows, but let's submit one more time and we'll do it for free. I'm like, all right, do it for free. Sounds good. Once again, revise the documents. I have put hundreds of hours into this now. Like, it's a stupid amount of time, okay? All for the risk of this one guy coming here who I don't know that well, who hopefully can teach great, who hopefully can grow a school, and then it'll be worth it, down the line. So we resubmit. Honestly, I forget about it. Like, it takes months and months, right? It takes about like 3 to 6 months for them to get back to you. And since we've been rejected before, I was already feeling discouraged. I just didn't care anymore, okay? I'm like, I assumed he wasn't going to get it, okay? In fact, the school that I planned to open with him, that I had someone teaching at, and he was waiting for his partner to get here, which is going to be Stefan, that guy actually backed out, and we closed that school. It wasn't even open anymore, okay? So I didn't even have like a place for him at the moment, right? So I'll have whole nother story about what happened there, what went wrong, why I had to close that school. But ultimately, I was just like not even thinking about it. In fact, between when we applied, or after I applied, a couple months later, I moved states. Okay, I moved from Philadelphia to Florida, so I wasn't there anymore. And Mr. Stefan calls me, and he's like, "Hey, this is 11:30 p.m. at night." Sorry, he sends me a message on WhatsApp. He says, "Hey, I need to talk to you right now." I'm like, "Oh my God, okay." I haven't talked to him in months at this point. He calls me. He's like, "You don't believe it. I checked the website." Every day on the website, he was refreshing the page to see if like it got accepted. Because you get a letter in the mail, but it takes a little bit longer. But you can also check the status on the website. And he's like, "It's been approved. It's been approved." And I'm like, "No way, no way." Send me a screenshot. And I'm looking at my phone. It's 11:39. I'm like, holy crap. This is unbelievable. I can't believe it. I gotta confirm with the lawyer to make sure this is even true, because it's just like unbelievable that happened. And next day morning we confirm, like, all right, we got to get you here. What happens next? There's a couple other things that need to happen. Got to pay for a couple more documents need to go through. Then we got to get him a plane ticket. We got to get him an apartment. We get him an apartment, so when he shows up, the keys are ready to go. He has a place to move in, and like he's settled and warm, right? So he comes in. This is how this man got here. He's been now in the U.S. I put him in a different location that needed a spot to be filled anyway by that time. So ended up being great. Had him an amazing partner. But now we got to train him quick, okay? Because he doesn't know, the little things that we say. He doesn't know our curriculum exactly, right? He's got to like get in our group. So luckily, I have a great business partner, and he's going to do a lot of the training for him in person, okay? Because once again, I'm not even in the same state anymore. And I do training with him on Zoom, but he does all the in-person stuff, which is extremely valuable, extremely helpful. So he trains him up, gets him in school. He's now in the school for about 5-6 months-ish. He's in a new country, doesn't know a lot of people besides us. It's hard to transition. And then what happens? He gets some lady's purse back and then just returns to teaching like it's nothing. In fact, he didn't even tell me about it. And then the next day, I post about it. Okay, I'm gonna tell you how I do it. And then he's on the news, and then he's being interviewed by all these news stations, and he's like, he can't believe it. He's calling me like 2, 3 times a day. Like, I don't understand. I didn't do this for this news coverage. Like I don't understand how this happened, and like I just can't believe it. Like it was nothing because in Johannesburg in South Africa, crime is rampant. Okay, he told me that he was sitting in a stop sign, and if you have your windows open, and this happened to his family, people will put a gun through the window and they'll hold you up at the stop sign, right? So like people don't even stop at stop signs, they keep their windows closed. There's like massive crime in South Africa. So for him, this was like nothing. He worked as a security guard, once again, also martial arts, like world champion, like actual fighter. Like he is a beast. So here's what actually happened. Here's how we got. So that's the backstory. I hope that wasn't too long winded, but I think it's important to understand the backstory of like where he was and how he got here. So when I got this DM from this lady and she called me, I immediately she started to tell me good things that happened, and I had recently found out that on your iPhone there's a button on the top left you can record the call. Okay, now I've used apps for recording calls before. Usually, I have to go into an app, call them from a certain number, and then it's kind of you have to pay for the app. It's sort of this whole thing, and I've done that in the past, but I don't have that app on my phone right now. And someone had just told me like 2 days before, hey, you can record natively on the iPhone now. And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm like, and I talked to this lady, and she starts to tell me this story. I'm like, this is amazing. Oh, hold on, like, can I record this? She's like, yeah, I guess so. Sure, yeah, no problem. Actually, that sounds fine. So I record it, and she tells me this whole story about what happened with Stefan. I'm asking all these questions. She's giving me detail, and she's very vibrant, and like she's just like, it's just grateful for what he did. And I'm recording the call because I know that I can make content out of this later. Okay. And otherwise, like I don't have her in front of me. Otherwise, it's just like a written word or a story, which is nice, but people like to hear from someone, right? Preferably they like to see it. Okay. But it's all I got. It's this phone call. She tells me the whole story. It's amazing. I walk into dinner, tell my girlfriend, I can't believe it. We get home. Okay. And I immediately go into the local. I asked the girl, the lady. I said, "Hey, her name's Jennifer." I said, "Jennifer, can you write me up something?" She's like, "I'll do anything for the school. Like, just tell me." I'm like, "Can you just write a little thing for me about how he helped you and send it over to me, or post it in the local Facebook community group, like where that is? It's a very active group. There's like 15,000 people in it." And she's like, "Can you?" I think 18,000, but whatever. She's like, "Can you please put this?" I said, "Can you please like post in there like what your story? Because I post it, that's kind of cool. But if you post it, it'll be even better about what happened." She's like, "Oh, absolutely, I will do anything for Stefan, no problem." The problem is she's not part of that group. So she said she sent me a text with like what happened and like and her being so thankful and telling the story. So I took that post and I put it in the local Facebook group in the community. Okay. Now the problem was the post was good at telling a story, but people will not read a post and they won't watch a video unless it has a really good hook. Okay. If the first sentence or the first 3 seconds to 5 seconds of video isn't good, people don't watch. You have a million different options. They just swipe, swipe, swipe. So I'm like, okay, I need people to actually look at this. So I put in the top of the story something like, "He stole my purse and ran away. Dot, dot, dot." And then I wrote, "This is the text I got from blah 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 person. Read this to see the story." So people that remember they see only the top part of the post. They have to click read more to read the whole thing. So they click on it, they read it. This post immediately picks up a ton of attention. Okay, once again, just in this like Facebook group, not on social media overall, but in a localized community group, people are going to care about this. Someone got their purse snatched at the dry cleaner down the street, like they're going to want to know. Okay, if I just put it on my Facebook, I'm sure it would have had some traction, but not as much as like it would in this specific community. And I'm like, and people are sharing, like, "Oh my God, this is awesome," commenting, it gets like, a couple hundred likes, like basically right away. It's got 50 shares. Like people are really talking about it. So I call Stefan and I'm like, "Hey, this is amazing. We need to set up some kind of workshop to make this happen." To leverage this. Like we need to have more marketing from this that actually works and gets us new students instead of just like a nice feel good story. We need to get new students out of this, right? And that's how organic marketing should always be. It's like okay, what can you do that sets out goodwill in the community, but also has returns for you, right? So when people do school programs, what they'll do is they'll go out, they'll do gym teacher for a day or career day, or they'll do other events at a school, do a school talk about bullying, and it's goodwill, it's great, And they might get 1 or 2 students from it maybe, but most of the time they'd get like nothing. And yeah, like it's good to be on the community. It's good to get your name out there and face out there. But ultimately, if you don't get anything back from it, man, it's like that's like one way to like really burn you out. Okay. And it's frustrating because you feel like you're doing all the right things, but you're not getting anything back. So I know how to get people to run school programs and daycare programs and convert them into new students. Okay, cool. I can use those same exact leverage strategies with this. Okay. So next thing I know, I look down at my phone. This is the next morning. I get a call. The Philadelphia Inquirer, a local like newspaper. We want to do a news story. He's like, "Tell me what happened." I tell him the story, but I don't just tell him like, this guy who's my instructor took this lady's purse, and then, or sorry, he got this lady's purse back from some guy who snatched it. I told him everything about the story, about how we got him his visa, how difficult it was, how for him this is all like nothing, and like the whole story behind it that I share with you guys, because I didn't want to just tell them the facts. Facts are boring. No one cares about facts. Okay. People don't share bullet points. They share stories. They remember stories. Just like I told you a story in this podcast episode, in this video, right? So if you're watching. So I tell him the whole thing. He's like, this is fascinating. He's like, all right, we're going to post about it tomorrow in the news. And I'm like, oh, fantastic. I gave him the other people's numbers so they could reach out and interview Stefan and interview the woman. And I'm like, okay, we need this. We need something to leverage this. So we're going to make a free women's self-defense workshop. So I go in the comment section. I don't have anything yet. I don't even have a date. I don't have a time. I don't have a Facebook event. I'm just trying to make this happen fast. Strike while the iron's hot. Okay. If you get leads from a local school and you don't have something for them to come to or convert them quickly within a week, then they're going to fade away forever. Okay. You need to strike while the iron's hot. So I go in the comment section. I said, hey, Stefan decided to do a free self-defense workshop for women. Who would be interested if we did it for free? Nonstop comments. Me. Oh, comment me if you want to join. Okay. Now, in Facebook groups, you can't really put a link. Okay. It's just usually people get upset about that. You can't promote a business. But I just said this is a free thing for the community. If you want to join, just message me. So it's like really like casual. Tons of comments on there. Okay, all the women from the community, they see their friends do it. They comment me. I'm like, oh, amazing. I'm like, okay, we got to get a Facebook event up. We got to get a form set up so people can register, so we can get their name, number, and email. We are hustling to get this done as quickly as possible because this news is about to come out the next day, and I want to make sure that they talk about it. They have something that they have a flyer, they have an image. Newspaper comes out, they have the image of our flyer. We have the event scheduled. We're taking all those people who comment me, and replying on the comments, hey, I sent you a DM to help you reserve a spot. Check your message inbox. It might be in your spam inbox because if we just send them a DM, might not see it. Okay. So we let them know, hey, check the other inbox. Okay. So, and I maybe could reply with the link for them to register, but sometimes moderators of Facebook groups get annoyed by that and they hate it. Or this is against the community guidelines. So we don't do that. And what happens next is this thing starts filling up. Okay. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like I have this recording of this video of the audio. I need to get this on social media. Okay. So I take that recording. I use what's called Descript. That's what I use to edit this podcast, what I use to edit videos. It's really easy because it turns all the words from a video into like a Word document essentially. So it'll say the words that the person said, like a Word document, and then you can edit the Word document and it automatically edits the video. So if there's a sentence I don't like, I highlight it, I hit backspace, and the video, that sentence where I said that thing magically disappears. Unbelievable technology. Okay, super easy to use. So I use that at this podcast. Often I'll use it to take out ums and uhs or other things that I feel like just aren't necessary to be on here. So I go on there, I edit this a 12-minute audio recording. No one's going to listen to that. So I cut it down to like 2.5 minutes. It's the best I can do in order to tell the story. I really wanted it to be like a minute or maybe 45 seconds, but I couldn't get it lower to that. And then I added a bunch of B-roll footage to it. Okay, so a bunch of just templated videos that kind of tell the story because I don't have any visuals and people generally like visuals, right? So I just added visuals to it with the audio recording of her on there, and I put it on social media. I put it on Instagram. Okay, now here's how we got the next level of news coverage. I tagged NBC, CBS, ABC. What happens next? We get a call. Okay, first of all, people start sharing it, right? And then we get a call from CBS. Hey, you want to get a news story? Next, we get a call from Fox. Hey, you want to get a news story? And Stefan now every day is doing these interviews. One of the days, CBS made him wake up at 5 a.m. to do this. And we have something that is an offer for them. So throughout the news coverage, you'll see every single one talks about they're going to be hosting a free women's workshop. And by that point, we have the date and the time, and people can register with the link and everything. And now we have like nonstop calls and texts and with a clear call to action. Okay. So every time it would say, if you want to reserve a spot, text workshop to blah 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 number. So then we have that person's number, right? To RSVP, and then we'll send them the link to actually fill out. Okay, so it took was like quick action immediately right away, tagging those news coverages, those news stations, and then it came one after another after another. Okay, here's what happened next. It gets even better. Okay, so now we're on 3 different news stations. We have over 100,000 views across the articles, the videos I posted, the documentation around it, and my social media coach for me personally, my Instagram coach, she's like, you can make this in like 20 pieces of content. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like I'm gonna rewrite it in different pictures and images and tell the same story and keep on posting with the news sites. So here's what happens next. We get an email from the Philadelphia Health Department. Okay. Hey, we have 1,700 employees. We want you guys to do a training for our staff. If you could do a free workshop for us, that'd be great, like you're doing for everyone else. And we'd also love to be a partnership with you. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like the Philadelphia Health Department, like 1,700 people, that's insane. Now, it doesn't mean 1,700 people are going to do it. Okay. This means they offer it. It could be 15 people do it. It could be 10. It could be uh, 400. I have no idea what we'll actually get out of this. That's the truth. Okay. But here's the good thing. One of the things I teach my clients through the Triangle Codex, which is a 3-step system in order to get new students organically. So there's 3 steps or 3 pillars, I would say. One is schools, like elementary, public, and private schools. The other thing is daycares slash, I don't know why the balloon thing happens, daycares, which is, sorry if you're watching a video, why I just said that is because balloons just popped up. I know it did that on Zoom. I don't know why it does that on here. But anyway, ignore that. The second part of the Triangle Codex is daycares slash after school programs slash summer camps. Okay, that's like the second pillar. And the third pillar that I don't talk about as much, but is equally as valuable, is businesses. How to create a strategic partnership with a business, not just like putting rack cards on by a register or putting flyers by some business where they hand out your flyers. First of all, most of the time you leave some flyers somewhere, at the end of the day, they're gonna take those flyers and throw them in the trash. Okay, like and is it better than nothing? Absolutely. But like, if you want a real partnership where those businesses send you qualified leads, you need to have an actual like agreement between you and them, and that's what I teach my clients to do in the Black Belt Business Elite program and the Black Belt Business Academy, in my one-on-one coaching program as well. Okay, so how do you actually create a partnership with local businesses so they send you hot leads that convert into new students? Now, typically, we'll do that with local family-friendly businesses like Mathnasium, that does like tutoring for math for kids, or the local trampoline park, or a family-friendly restaurant, or a pediatrician. Usually, those are who we set it up with. I never did it with like a government office. So the fact that they were asking me to do this, I was like, oh, okay. Like I know what to do, but I've never done it with like this big of an opportunity. So here's what we're doing with them, so you have an idea. Okay, so if something ever happens with you, you can make this happen, or maybe you can just reach out to your local government office and do it. So what we're going to do with them, we're going to set up a strategic partnership. So what's going to happen is they want us. So I got on a Zoom call with this lady, so we don't go back and forth with email. I'm like, what do you want exactly to happen? She said we want these a free workshop for our staff. Okay, so she's not offering to pay for it, so that was a little bit of a bummer. But I'm like, all right, cool. It doesn't matter if we get leads out of it that convert to new students. I'll take that any day. Okay, most of the time I offer these things for free anyway. So she's like, okay, yeah, we want to offer that. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we coordinate across all of our Philadelphia schools. So there's 34 schools total in the franchise that we own. When I say we own, I'm a part of, but owned and started by my brother, Solomon Brenner, and his business partner, Jacqueline Razai. But there were 34 schools. Okay, so we have a couple of those schools that are in the downtown Philadelphia area. So what we did is we coordinated that we're all going to do a beginner workshop, a self-defense beginner workshop, specifically for the Philadelphia Health Department at the same day and same time. Okay, specifically for them. They're going to send out an email on our behalf. Okay, that's going to say, hey, here's what you can go to. It's going to be free. If you want to join, do it. The next thing they want to do, this is where the actual, so that's like a cool event. It's a one-time thing. But okay, but how do we actually set up a partnership so they constantly send those people? So now what's going to happen is when people join the Philadelphia Health Department as an employee, we're going to have a partnership where they get a discount at our martial arts school. Okay, we're still figuring out what that discount is. Exactly and what that entails, but they're going to get some sort of discount when they join any of our martial arts schools, and that'll be exclusively for their employees. So that means when their employees join on, they're going to get in their emails and their welcome packet, they're going to get, oh, by the way, here's one of your exclusive benefits for being an employee for the Philadelphia Health Department. You get this, right? You get access to a membership at Action Karate for blah, blah, blah discounts. Plus you get one free class or one free week, whatever we're going to do exactly. We don't have the final details on that yet. But that's what we're going to put together for them. Okay. But here's the next level. So we have the workshop scheduled, which is great. We have the offer, figuring out what that is, but make sure that new people when they come on board and employees, they constantly see this. Okay. It's not just like a one-time thing and that's it, because they're going to send an email on our behalf. And by the way, I'm sure a lot of these people have kids too. They get enrolled. We're friends. And then, okay, so what's the next part of it? The next part is going to be, okay, I asked the lady, I said, hey, do you know any other government offices that you feel like might benefit from this too? And she's like, oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I actually do. I have a friend in this department and in this department. Amazing. Like, would you be comfortable with like letting them know about this or giving me their information so we can do the same thing with them and help the other government officials, the government workers, the employees? And she's like, yeah, that's great. Like, let's do this first. She didn't like relent right away, but she's like, let's do this first, and we'll definitely do that. I'm like, amazing. So that is essentially what I'm doing, is asking for a referral, right? Like, okay, a student comes on board at your school and they love the program, they just start. You don't have to wait 6 months in to get a referral, right? A lot of times you'll be, hey, I know you're really enjoying class. It could be one class in, two classes in. Do you know anyone else who might benefit from training that you think would love it? Right? Just ask them and they're going to give it to you. Okay. But for me, it's not one student. It's like a giant domino, right? This is like 1,700. Okay. Another employee office in the Philadelphia government might have something else, right? A huge number. So, okay. I'm like, okay, cool. That's great. So now we have that, like, we don't have that finalized, but that those like wheels are turning, and that's what we're going to focus on. Okay. So remember, my whole goal in me telling you all this stuff is you understand how like this one little phone event that could have been just like a cool story to tell at our next company meeting that would have just faded away, turned into a ton of media coverage, and now a partnership with the Philadelphia Health Department, which is just huge. Okay. And a ton of leads. Like, we have leads coming in that are going to convert to new students. Okay. And I'll talk about that another time, like how to actually convert them into new students from one of these events using an irresistible offer and a mass enrollment, which is also what I teach my clients in the Black Belt Business Elite program or the Black Belt Business Academy. When I say academy, by the way, I'm talking about my program that's for school owners that have less than 100 students. So I made a program specifically for them to help them get past that first milestone. It's cheaper than the cost of an Italian dinner. I make it super cheap for them. It's because no one really helps those school owners. So I wanted something to be able to support them along the way. And it also includes office hours. So you get direct access to me too, not just like, a video or something. So anyway, so what happens next is I say, okay, cool. This is great. Like, let's, do you have a social media coordinator? And she's like, oh yeah, we do. Like, someone who does the social media for, our Twitter and our blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, can we make sure that person comes out to our event so they post about it? She's, oh, absolutely. Okay. So you see how one thing and it compounds to the next. So it's like, okay, I have this one DM. That one DM turns into a Facebook post that works really well. Okay. And a group, that Facebook post that works really well turns into a call from the local newspaper. That newspaper turns into a news interview, video interview with a news station, which turns into another news interview with another news station, which turns into a partnership with the Philadelphia Health Department, which is now going to hopefully turn into a snowball into partnerships with a couple different departments in Philadelphia, and then which will convert a funnel to new students. Okay, this all works together. All right. So I want to kind of give you a little breakdown of how that happened, how this all kind of snowballed, how this works. So that way you can start thinking like, what can you do for your martial arts school? Like, what are some partnerships that you can create? Maybe you set up a scenario where someone's getting stabbed and you save them, right? I'm just kidding. Don't don't do that. That's crazy, dog. Don't do any fake scenarios, but it's funny to talk about. Um, but like, what can you do to set up a strategic partnership? You don't have to have a crazy event. Like that doesn't need to happen. You could literally just reach out. We have strategic partnerships with companies like Mathnasium that just was like an outbound call, right? And they offer our students 5 free tutoring sessions. Okay, but either remote or in person, it's worth $250. But they do it for our students because they gotta get hot leads, and bubble, and they'll send us referrals or recommendations. So of their clients when they come on board. So it's a really symbiotic give relationship. So that's the full breakdown. I hope it's helpful to learn about all this and hear kind of the background of the story and how it all came together. If you run a martial arts school and you want to learn how to grow your martial arts school organically without depending on ads, right? I've run 0 ads throughout this process of getting these like news coverages and adult leads coming in. If you want to learn how to grow your school organically, I'll guarantee you get 30 students in 60 days, like contractually guaranteed. I don't know anyone else that does that. All you have to do is set up a discovery call with me. Basically, we just talk for 10 minutes. I find out if I can even help you based on your area and based on your situation. If I can, cool. I'll tell you how it's going to work. If I can't, I'll be like, hey, sorry, I can't help you. And I'll at least try to send you in the right direction. So anyway, that's how it works. If you want to set up a call with me, if you just DM me on Instagram at blackbeltbrenner1, or if you send me a message on Facebook, Matthew Brenner, or email me, matthew@wyourdojo.com, and say, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about the trial codex? I want to get more students, something like that. I'll set up a call with you and then we'll go from there. All right. Thanks for listening. Hope this is helpful. I'll do an update on this as well when these programs are all done, talk about the results. Okay? All right. Talk soon. Bye, guys.